course, we had heard of COVID. You know, everybody was talking about COVID. It was on the news everywhere, but we never thought anything about it being in our area. I went to work like always, and we got called into a meeting, and they sent us all home saying, if you can work from home because of COVID. The very next day, this was on the 22nd of March, he started not feeling well. Like I said, he doesn't feel well a lot because of all that he's been through with the cancer stuff, so we just kind of didn't think too much of it. He just doesn't feel well. Well, as days went on, he just kept getting weaker and just didn't feel good. It was getting worse all the time. So I called the doctor down at Richland Center, and I told them that Jeff's just not feeling well, told him his symptoms. Well, one of the symptoms that Jeff had wasn't one that was listed with COVID at that time. So we didn't really think it was COVID, but kept him home, gave him Gatorade. The next day, it wasn't any better. I called again. I said, he is not getting any better. He's coughing really hard. The doctor said, well, we think he might have pneumonia. Let's treat him for pneumonia. The next day, it was later in the afternoon, and I noticed, I went over to check him, and he was cold, and his feet were turning black. And I said, Jeff, when's the last time you took a shower? He goes, I just took a shower. I'm like, your feet are turning black. And he goes, what? And I'm like, I'm calling ER. So I went to the phone, I called the ER, I started telling the nurse, and as soon as I said his feet were turning black, she said, hold it, right there. You get him down here now. So I turned to him, I said, we're going to ER. I said, get dressed. And it took him about a half hour to even get dressed. He was that weak. And I got him down there. And the nurse came out to the car with a wheelchair. And she opened the door, she put a mask on Jeff, and she said, you can't come in.
It was April 1st, 2020. That's when I got a call from the ER physician. He called me and he said, look, I've got a patient down here who has possible COVID. I need you to come assess him for possible admission. I came down to the ER. Jeff was in the ER, he was in one of the rooms. He was sitting all the way back against the wall, very lethargic looking, basically propped up by a chair. You know, my intuition was telling me he was sick, something was wrong. And even though he was a quote unquote possible COVID, for me, I was like, he's the one, this is the one. For us, it would have been probably the second case that we had in the hospital by that time. At the end of the day, you know, I was looking at him and I was thinking of if he was my father.
And it was probably a couple hours before he finally called me, and he said, you might as well go home. He said, they're gonna keep me overnight. I'm like, really? And I said, okay. I said, they'll probably give you some fluids. That's what we're both thinking. They're just gonna give him some fluids and he'll be fine. And I said, just call me in the morning. I'll come down and get you as soon as you call me. He goes, okay. And that was the last I got to talk to him for 33 days.
I knew by that time we were probably close to 8 to 10 days into your course from what I had calculated from what you had told me. And just so that you know, we had enough information from what was going on in the rest of the country to know days 7 to 10 are the worst. And so we were in that 8 to 10 day range. You were on 2 liters, you didn't look good. And so I couldn't, say for sure, that this is what you have. And it's unfamiliar territory. We usually step into a room, we kind of know what's going on. And with what was going on in the world, it was a different scenario and foreign to me, of course.
The next day comes and he doesn't call, and nobody's calling and nobody's letting me know what's going on, and I'm trying to call down there and nobody's returning my calls. And finally in the afternoon I got a call from the county telling me that Jeff tested positive for COVID.
Felt very confident because the administration here, and we had a task force that was set up many weeks ago. It was headed by the chief of staff, Dr. Christine Richards, and also Lyle, who's the head of the RT department. And they did such an amazing job collaboratively getting all the departments together. We had meetings every single day at noon, Monday through Friday, talking about how much more protective gear do we have, how many people in the community have COVID right now, X, Y, and Z, just going through all the statistics and our plan, if this happened, contingencies, X, Y, and Z. So we felt very confident, prepared. So we had that conversation, that huddle in the ER. I remember going upstairs to the ICU to prepare the room. I talked to the nurse that night, Sarah, kind of gave her strict instructions on, look, this is what we're looking for. We're day 8 to 10 here. You know, if you start to decline, it's going to be rapid. It's not, it doesn't, this COVID and this coronavirus does not behave like the things that we're used to. This is so out of the realm. And what we've been seeing is that when patients start taking a dip, they take a dive.
He got a call saying that Jeff was bad, so they went in, talked to Jeff, asked if it was okay if they put a ventilator in, and Jeff told them it was. And he told me that Jeff seemed okay with that. So they put the ventilator in.
In a nutshell, from there on out, you went through a lot. You developed multi-organ failure. You went into septic shock. Your body basically was in a shock state. Your heart wasn't able to pump strong enough to maintain blood pressures that would give you blood perfusion to your organs. So essentially life support. Without these machines and without the medications, you know, you were not able to sustain life on your own.
And then as days went on, the nurses, I'd call down and the nurses would give me an update. I said, could you please hold the phone up to his ear so I could just talk to him? I wanted to give him a reason to live.
Here at the hospital, we did have a patient that was COVID positive and was on the ventilator. We are a team of 4 strong here at the hospital that provides 24-hour coverage with life support. I was on for 5 days with the patient and provided 24-hour care. As I finished my shift, I would go home and get report from nursing, call back, come in as needed. It was an amazing experience.
It changed our practice here quite a bit. You know, this is a new virus that we've never been exposed to before, that we really had to reshape the way that the whole hospital functioned. And I was amazed with our administration how quickly that happened and how many things they thought about to make that happen to keep our patients and us safe.
Within 24 hours, the quality team volunteered to be the lead on the triage adventure. And on day 1, we all sat down as a team, decided what questions were we going to ask people, how were we going to triage all of these patients, and we started making a schedule. And so we started answering the phone within 2 days of that, and we have taken more than probably 2,000 calls in the time period that the quality team has been answering these calls.
Communication was a lot different. Families weren't allowed to be at the bedside. And so we had to kind of find different ways to make that happen. So we would take in phone calls or video messages. And this patient's wife called and gave him some very encouraging words and loving words. And I knew he knew that she was there because a tear had rolled down his eye. And I think everybody in the room had a tear too.
We all are a team. We've worked very hard to take care of our patients. I did not hear one comment when we did have patients in-house. It was kind of unnerving when you maybe had to gown up and go in and take care of patients because it was the unknown. None of us knew really what to expect. And we keep hearing how serious and how dangerous it is. But not once did anybody hesitate to step forth and do what they are here to do.
Staying out ahead of this was the biggest priority. And to me, that's what was so impressive about the way our organization handled it. They really were trying to be out in front of this, anticipating all along what was going on.
I am super proud to say that
to today, I think we've done our job of masking, hand hygiene, and conserving our PPE. As an infection control nurse, that was my biggest and top of the line priority. Again, we were ahead of other facilities with having washable gowns and things that we could clean. We actually did take a stack of N95 masks to have them sterilized and sent back that will be stored for absolute necessity. But our central supply group did a great job of keeping N95s on hand for us so we would feel safe giving patient care.
Well, hey, Rock, is there anything I can do to help you?
I think I just about got it.
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Well, thank you so much for all that you do and your hard work. And you know, while I got you here for a second, I want to just ask you a quick question. How has COVID affected your work?
Well, let me tell you, ever since I was a little boy, I wanted to be the knight in shining armor and slay the dragons and dress in my uniform, my armor, and rescue the princess. And you know, I'm doing that today. The disinfectant is my lance, and my scrubs are my armor, and I'm rescuing princesses and princes. So I feel very good about that. I'm getting paid for my lifelong dream.
We are so grateful for Jeff's recovery. Jeff and Mary Lou are wonderful people, and we wish them health, joy, and happiness in the days ahead, and we hope they are very many. In this video, you saw many healthcare heroes. We'd like you to see the rest of them. So thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors. Please patronize these businesses in our local community. They are our neighbors, our friends, and we are so grateful for all of them. So thank you to all of our wonderful sponsors.